Hello, it's Burst, and we are here for week 4 of the MDL. This time we are facing Dark. This is a very interesting matchup this week, and also it's a very important week for both Dark and I. For Dark, it is his week to prove that he's not going to be running the same sets every single time, or if it does, he can make it work. Because every single week, for the mods that he's brought, which he's brought a lot of the same mods, he's brought the same sets on them every single time. So now in week 4, it's pretty obvious and pretty easy to read. So it's his time to prove that if he does do that, he needs to be able to beat me fairly convincingly in order to prove that, hey, that's the right call. And if he doesn't, it's basically forcing him to do something different. Which is why it's a fairly important week for him. Now for me, it's a fairly important week because I'm in a transition period with my team. Obviously, Finney's going to be gone soon. I'm going to be shifting my team around a new tier 1. But because of that, I also have a lot of things in the middle of just like being stuck there and not really having a place. For example, that jealousy, or even that set tile to a point. So there's not too much that my team really likes about actually competing in this week, but it's fine. We also have, of course, an 0-2 record this week, so we're under a lot of pressure to actually show up and actually perform against this team, which probably should be the easiest to perform against because I should know exactly what's coming. So if I lose this match and he brought the same sets, it's really going to be a huge blow to not only my wildcard chances, but also to my, I guess, reputation, or even how people are going to view me as a player going on throughout the league with the team I have. It'll basically be a GG, go next, we'll see you next season type thing. So with this match, I really, if I don't win it, I need to make it close to at least show him I'm still competitive. And if I do win, I can relax, and Dark is put under a lot of pressure to improve. So now we have our whole matchup that we can go over. Let's start with Dark side. We have, of course, the Hippo, the Dracozolt, the Togekiss, the Milotic, and the Uxie being mods that he's brought every single week with the exact same sets. And for his sake, I hope he doesn't bring the exact same sets, because I have no fucking clue what a Rindoberry is going to be doing on a Hippowdon against my team. But because he has not faltered in bringing those 5 mods every single week, I have no choice but to say I'm most likely to see them. And also to prep specifically against the sets that he's brought every single week. Now that being said, it's fairly obvious why he brings these mods every single week. First off, they work fairly well together, mainly the first 4 being the Hippowdon and the Dracozolt to provide a very offensive core, the Togekiss to essentially redirect and make the offense much more threatening, my Milotic to sit there, be defensive, and just get off hits. And also the Uxie is a really good counter trick room mod, but we haven't seen that brought out much other than to be a defensive pivot. So of course, they work well together, they're very comfortable for him, so I don't blame him for bringing them every week. But it also means I'm super likely to see them, and I have to prep specifically against these sets, which makes the game fairly easy for me if I end up actually seeing these sets. Next in the could see, first we have Chandelier, and that's because it brings something different from the set that they brought for 2 weeks in a row. It could be a real problem for my team. Of course, in that set, or in those sets rather, it didn't run Energy Ball, but if it does, I am in huge trouble because Finny doesn't like Energy Ball and it's slower than Chandelier. What's it? Rhyperior doesn't like Energy Ball, it's slower than a Chandelier. Well, of course, Magnezone doesn't like Flamethrower, and it's slower. And Mr. Rhyme and Sceptile don't like Flamethrower. Sceptile's not going to do much to Chandelier before he gets hit. And Mr. Rhyme is not fast enough to deal with it. So in general, it's a lot of mons that it could hit, so it makes it very likely that we see it. Next, we have the Roserade. Roserade is the same thing as like the Energy Ball, where it hits my Rhyperior and my Finny, but it also hits my Morgrim fairly well with a Sludge Bomb. So that one's more specialized into the grass type, but so we're more likely to see that if he's too lazy to gen another Chandelier. So finally for the Lycanroc, that's purely because of Talonflame, and if he views Talonflame as enough of a threat, we could totally see the Lycanroc come. Finally on unlikely to see, Pangoro likely not going to come because it's literally facing better Pangoro. Scissor, I have a lot of mons that can bring fire coverage, and it doesn't do too much to my team, especially since I have a Talonflame there that can one-shot it without any offensive investment. Finally, Delibird, not the matchup for it. It doesn't have too many things it can actually do. On my must bring, we're gonna do this in a set of 2 for the beginning, Finny and Morgrim. Because this week, before I finally get rid of Finny, I get to show off exactly why I drafted Morgrim next to Finny. I legitimately wanted Morgrim for a few things to enable this Finny and to provide it offensive pressure, and that's exactly what I plan to do with it before I inevitably drop it. So Finny has a really good offensive matchup. If it can live a hit from Dracozolt, which with Wakanberry is very likely, I can take that out easily. I can take out the Hippo easily. I can take out the Chandelier easily. And those are the 3 main offensive threats of this team. So, even though it doesn't get too much, it's a very good combination. Next, of course, Morgrim being the thing that enables it all. It can do fake tier strats, it can do a different strat that I'm going to save to tell you until Teambuilder. It can set light screens and reflects, because that physical offense core is going to be doing a shit ton. You can set taunts for the Milotic. It's kind of insane. I had 4 move slot syndrome when building my Morgrim, just because of how many things I wanted it to do. Next, Talonflame, purely for that Tailwind against the Hippo, and also to take out the Scissor if it comes. And of course, Rhyperior is there more as a Gluon, because even if that's going to be the main thing in my core, I have a lot of other things I can do with it. I can of course bring Lightning Rod against that Dracozolt. I can run a weakness policy set. I can max it. There's a lot of different layers of how I can do this. So the quicker I do that, or the better I pull that off rather, should really determine how I play this game and how the game turns out. Next on my could brings, we have Magnezone, because it lives a lot of hits from literally everything except for that Chandelier and the Hippo. But as long as it's brought in against neither of those, it has a really good time. Of course, it doesn't really have a move against that Dracozolt, but electric moves do work to literally the entire rest of the team. Urshifu is really good for neutral pressure. It doesn't really hit anything super effectively, but Wicked Blow calcs have been insane on this mod, so it definitely makes me want to bring it. Mr. Rhyme is more of to set Trick Room if I decide to go that route, but of course with Talonflame, we're not going that route. I could also do a Ice Shard set into the Rhyperior to really bring out the weakness policy there. Also, I could bring the Sceptile because it punches through that Milotic and through that Hippowdon better than a decent chunk of my team. I don't think it's better than Urshifu though, which is why I'm probably not going to bring it, but it's at least considered. Next on the won't brings, Jellicent. I'm already bringing Finny, and I don't want to expose a Jellicent to the Dracozolt. With Altaria against a Togekiss, no, not the weak. And for Mesprit, I could have considered it, but honestly, I needed a different set of mons, and it was just too low on the priority ladder for me to really consider it. So, that's the matchup. We'll get right into the team builder. Alright, so now we got the team builder. We're starting off with the spiciest set yet, a physical Finny with minus speed nature. Minus speed is really because I want to have the Hydro Pump there just in case. But we can go over this set real quick. Waterfall Play Rough for my physical core. Protect, because against this team I'm very desperate for Protect. Hydro Pump exists because I know the Hippowdon is very, very physically bulky. So I want to have this move because it hits way more calcs, even at no investment. It is kind of insane the calcs it hits. Not gonna lie. Also, why the hell is it at 0 IV? Make it 31 real quick. There we go. Hydro Pump hits a lot of calcs. We're running Wakanda Berry just so that we can live stuff from the Dracozolt for a turn. And I can talk about why that is in a minute. But as long as I live for a turn against the Dracozolt, I should be able to kill it with Play Rough. Why is that? Because of this Morgrem. Now Morgrem, as you can see, for Moveset Syndrome, we have Taunt, Swagger, Light Screen, and Fake Tears. Swagger is to proc the Finny, because Misty Terrain will prevent the confusion, and a +2 will be kind of insane on the Finny. For example, without Max, a +2 Finny can kill a non-max Dracozolt. And likewise, a max Finny with a Swagger boost kills a max Dracozolt. What else is there? Taunt is of course for that Milotic, because the sooner I can shut it down with its setup moves, the easier it is to just shut it down completely with the Magnezone. Fake Tears is also really good to enable that Magnezone, but it's only to enable the Magnezone. And that's really it. My 4 moveset syndrome was really between Light Screen and Reflect. But ultimately I went for Light Screen because Rhyperior really doesn't like special moves. Same with Urshifu. So, between those two, I wanted to be able to beef them up a little bit more on the side that they're weak on. So back to Hyperior. We're running a weakness policy lightning rod set with high horsepower, fire punch, rock slide, and protect. A little bit of HP, a decent chunk of defense, max def, a lot of attack, and the 4 speed is not really worth anything. That's really just because I had an extra EV. I needed to put it somewhere after the defense and HP thing. But yeah. Also with this right here, high horsepower, it's a lot of things very hard. Even without the boost, I one-shot a decent chunk of things with the high horsepower. I do 90% to a lot of other things. Rock slide isn't necessarily for hitting calcs, because if I wanted to hit calcs, I will max off the rock slide. But just the existence of that rock slide is very crucial for me, because a lot of my moves are single target, and against that Togekiss, follow me, I really want to be able to hit rock slides into it. I believe it's a 2-shot on that Togekiss. It does around 51-52%. So that's why I trained this one. I don't have a proc on the weakness policy. I used to on Finny, but Water Gun does like half to this Hyperior, so I didn't want to risk it. So next we have Urshifu. We're running a Life Orb set with Detect, Wicked Blow, Iron Head, and Fire Punch. Why no close combat? Because it literally doesn't hit anything on the team. Not worth it. Wicked Blow just does way more damage all the time. Iron Head is to hit the Togekiss. Fire Punch is to hit, I forget what. Oh yeah, it's the Scissor. And also to reset weather. What else? We're running Speed. I forget where we're speed creeping, but it's running at 95 speed. I believe it's the Uxie, but I'm probably wrong on that. But very simple set here. Nothing really to write home about, but it's going to do a lot of work. Next is Magnezone. Running Magnet Pole to bring in Scissor, fit in. Shookaberry, yeah. Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, Miracle, Protect, because actually here, why the hell am I running Magnet Pole when I can run Analytic and hit better calcs? So, Flash Cannon is really there for the coverage, but generally there's not many mons where it's better to click Flash Cannon than say the Thunderbolt. It's really more of, if I want to max this thing and I really want to get the defense boost up, this is probably the best way to do it. And the Miracle, again, I don't really have a reason for Miracle, but I have it here anyway because I don't have many other moves to put on this. There's also a point where I had the Iron Defense and Body Press sets, but it wasn't hitting any calcs. It was just way better to use Thunderbolt all the time. But the fact of the matter is, I need Magnezone's Thunderbolt, which is why it's on the team. Finally, Talonflame, we're running a Goggle set to prevent it from getting chipped down by the sand. We got a little bit of HP, 4 attack, just because I had the extra attack. Speed creeping that Lycanroc, I believe. So we'll always be faster even than an Accelerock. Max special defense because that's really what I'm worried about here. And a little bit of defense because why not? Really the look on this is just thrown together. There's not too many rhyme or reason why. But generally speaking, these special attacks are probably going to be coming into the Talonflame more, hence why the extra bulk in it. running Protect, Tailwind, Taunt, and Flare Blitz. Taunt is mainly because it can't really do much to a lot of this team, but I at least know if I can taunt something like the Milotic when this is out, it will definitely throw Dark off guard, and hopefully with that I get enough momentum to win the game. So, we're of course running a 2 support with Morgan and Talonflame, 4 offensive hitters with Finny, Hyperior, Urshifu, and Magnezone. Anyway, with that being said, we will see y'all in the match within a couple of days. I'm really nervous, and if all goes to plan, hopefully it's a really fun match. Yeah, see you then. Alright, what is up? We've got the match. I'm hoping I'm using the right microphone this time. I really do hope. But anyway, we have a few things to go over. First off, Finny, Hyperior, Magnezone, and Talonflame all had a move switch up. Finny, I switched out Hydro Pump for Scald. Hyperior, I gave it Thunder Punch. I don't remember what for, or what was replaced. Magnezone got Discharge. Talonflame replaced Protect with Flame, not Flame Fire, Brave Bird, just to hit something. So, I'm going for the Finny Morgram lead, the Urshifu Magnezone, leaving Hyperior and Talonflame in the back for this game. Reason being that I want to pressure out counter picks to the Finny Morgram, which I don't know, but I'm pressuring out these counter picks for game 2. So game 1, I just want to hit them hard, get a quick win on the board, and knowing how I want to adapt from the very beginning of game 1 should give me a pretty good advantage going into game 2. So, here we are. Game starts. And we see the... wait for it. Resurrect and Dracozolt. Which is great for me because that means I can get off a free swagger. But also, I am very scared because Roserade is like a hard counter to my Finny. And Finny and Dracozolt go very neutrally into each other. So I'm really having to trust my calculations, which I haven't done for Roserade because Dark never brought Roserade before and I'm dumb. I'm really just trusting my calculations, going for the set game plan, and hoping it works. If it doesn't work, I'll adapt to game 2. But I'm just hoping that Roserade either does something passive, targets into Morgram because he thinks that it's a threat and wants to take it out early, or that if it does target into Finny, God forbid, that it will survive. So we do see I do max, I'm able to max, and that probably tells me that they're not maxing this turn. Which means I should probably get the KO onto the Zolt as long as it is not sashed. So, Swagger comes out, I get the boost onto Finny, we're getting physical, and the Bolt Beak does come out. So for my calculations, it should do just under half. Instead, it does just over half. So it's telling me that, well, that's probably a Bandit set. I just haven't made that connection yet. But that's probably my mindset going through it. Because obviously it's not sashed because I just killed it. So it's probably banded in order to get that kill. Meaning that from everything I've written down, it probably doesn't have Protect, and it probably has a Force move, especially for my team. I do want to mention that because Dark has only ever brought 7 different sets to this league, or to this season thus far, I wrote down every single one. which just means I did my due diligence with prep. Now this turn is very important. I know Rosary's going to want to target down my Finny, because it's +2, it is the huge bet on the field, and I also see a Scissor come on board, which probably means that that's what's going to be targeting into the Morgrim to get the double KO. See, that's what I'm reading of this situation. So I go for the Max Guard in order to preserve my Finny, and I go for a Light Screen in order to protect my team late game. I'm not sure how much this matters, but I hope it really does. I'm not very I do not remember very well the second half of this game, just because of how nerve-wracking the first half was. But as we see, there's a Max. I'm not sure what it's coming from, but as we see right now, it is the Roserade, which tells me that he's obviously just not going. I mean, he could go for the Max Poison into the Morgrim just to get the easy +1, but he's likely not. He's probably going to go into my Finny, probably scalped it out, is probably going to be able to get something into the Finny, and allow me to do something. I get my Light Screen off before the Bullet Punch, which is huge. I literally wrote this down as soon as it happened, because that is an interaction I'm not very sure of, especially with the speed tiers of everything. So because of that, I feel a lot better about my Morgrim's place on my team going into the next game. And now I have to decide which offensive threat I want to bring in. Do I want to bring in the Morgrim, sorry, not Morgrim, Magnezone, that can pressure out stuff later, as well as basically takes nothing from the Roserade? Or do I want to bring the Urshifu that can directly pressure out the Scissor, but also can take something from the Roserade, like a Max Starfall? I decide I want to go for the Urshifu as a more aggressive play. I believe I'm going for, right now I'm going between Geyser and Starfall. But I believe I go for Starfall here because I want to make sure that my Fire move actually kills, because I don't want Rain nerfing it. So I do go for the Fire move. I believe I should be outspeeding this Roserade with my Urshifu. I'm just not sure entirely what the interaction is going to be, just because at this point in the game, I'm so uncertain. I had no clue that this was going to be something that I had to deal with. But so Scissor gets taken out immediately, which is great for me. And a Max Guard onto the Roserade preserves it, sure. But ultimately leaves her not, because I just targeted it toward the Scissor anyway. Of course, he probably didn't know I had Fire Punch. That's something that he's gonna know for next time. But I guess he assumed it was gonna be a Wicked Blow into the Roserade just to take it out so I could preserve my Finny a bit better. Thankfully, I was able to go around it. Now I'm deciding I want to double into the Milo here, because I know from my calcs that my Wicked Blow can't kill it, but it'll do enough that a Play Rough will kill. So that's what I am going around here. So either Roserade has to decide if it wants to kill the Finny, which it probably should have, but I don't know. The game would have gone a lot differently based off of what he targeted here. But he goes for the Starfall into the Urshifu, taking it out early. Which, it did its job. I'm pretty happy. It kills the Scissor, it does 90% to a Milo. And now he's relying on the Muddy Water plus the Muddy Water to get the accuracy drop, and then the Play Rough to miss, in order for the Milo to survive and to secure his endgame. Now, this is very great for me because I just took out the Milotic, which is the worst thing for my team, and I've got a Magnezone against a, what's it called? Against a Roserade, which I already know 3 moves from, being a Poison move, something that can Max Guard, and Dazzling Gleam. So, I'm in a phenomenal position. I go for the protect here because I want to try preserving differential as much as possible and see if I can OHKO with the flash cannon. Spoiler alert, I can't, but at least I do that. This disappears, that's fine. Light screen is still up, so I do get to play around that. I just go for the double protect here. And I'm assuming that, oh yeah, I do know that since the energy ball came out, there's no fire move. So I can't really go for the double protect and not worry about anything touching this Magma Zone. But because of the targeting and such, he does go for Finny, takes it out, and that's a 1-0 win for me. He did preserve differential pretty well. Now, going into game 2, there is a very important note. Dark did tell me after the match was played that he ran out of time, and so 3 random mobs were picked, including an unfavorable lead for him, which is very, very unfortunate for him. But we will see what that is. But for now, I will go over what my thought process is with my lead and breaks. So my lead is essentially, I want to be able to counter both of the things that heavily pressure my Finny, being Zolt and Roserade. So I'm going to go for the Rhyperior Talonflame lead eventually. I'm still deciding, like in the video, but I go for the Rhyperior Talonflame in order to fast offensively pressure that that Roserade from wanting to target into the or actually from getting off anything at all. Mind you, I have 2 offensive moves on it. I don't have to go just for Tailwind, especially with my lead. Rhyperior doesn't really benefit from Tailwind. Also, Rhyperior is able to just bid into a Dracozolt fairly cleanly. But we will see what happens. I don't know why, but I also completely forgot about Roserade going into game 2. But thankfully, it didn't end up mattering, because I played my endgame pretty solidly from the get-go, and I didn't play badly with the existence of it. I probably could have preserved my Talonflame a bit better, but that's whatever. I see the Togekiss Dracozolt, which is what I planned on baiting out in the first place. So of course I didn't know that this was not intended. But because of this, I know exactly that there's going to be a taunt going into the Togekiss. Actually, no, not a taunt. I was debating the taunt going into the Kiss, but ultimately I go for the Tailwind here because whatever comes in after this Talonflame is going to get a Tailwind buff, and that's kind of huge. And Rhyperior might be able to outspeed something like a Milo. Which is my thought process, at least, because with this lead, Talonflame doesn't get that much. So I'm at least just stalling a turn, giving it some value that may come back later to help me out. Anyway, also I forgot to mention Max Rawfall into the Togekiss just to make sure I kill it. That's about it. Nothing special. It also does set up a special boost for me, which will come very much in handy later. But yeah, this is the game plan versus this lead. I need to Max Rockfall KO this Togekiss. If the Kiss is sashed, it'll be KO'd by the sand. So, what we do see is the obvious follow me, which is played around because of the rock fall. Tailwind is set. So those are the priority moves. And a Max Quake comes out onto the the Rhyperior. proccing my weakness policy, but also telling me that this is for sure not the same set that he's brought previously, because he's never previously brought a ground move on Dracozolt. Of course, I was planned for it, and I calced my Rhyperior around that, but this is something I actively made myself aware of, I guess. So, Rockfall comes out, puts me in a very favorable position, and what I see is, of course, Zolt's not safety goggles. I'm pretty certain it is banded. I didn't hear much about the items or anything, and as of this recording, I do not know Dark's paste. I can check it real quick, see if it's in League Uploads, but no, it's not. So, of course, you see the Milo come in, and I'm essentially saying, I'm going to sack my Talonflame. I am fine with it going down here. I'm just going to get the taunt on it, onto the Milo, because I know from my list of past sets that Milo has run Coil, Hypno, and Recover, along with Muddy Water in the past sets, and I know it's probably not going to go for those, but I want to make sure it doesn't go for those, and prevent that endgame from ever happening. So, Dracozolt goes into the Talonflame, take it out. I'm not sure if that was the right move or not, because it certainly doesn't KO the Rhyperior by any means at all. Especially, it doesn't set up the Milo to take out the Rhyperior, but it does allow my Rhyperior to go down to +1 instead of +2, which is okay. I guess I can see what they're going for there. I'm very curious to see what his thought process was on that one. I do think other than, say, literally that play in one play in turn 1, or sorry, not turn 1, game 1, I do legitimately think Dark played very well. That's just one question I do have for him. Anyway. Now, I know exactly what Uxie does on Dark's team. I've watched his games before. When he brings in Uxie, he ally switches. So I'm going to attempt to call that, but with a little bit of safety with the Discharge. And this is exactly why I put Discharge on this set, because I knew Lightning Rod would be a thing, and I might have it next to Rhyperior, and I might have to call the ally switch. So it's better off just having Discharge on there, and that's exactly this is the perfect situation for Discharge, because Lightning Rod, or just ground type in general, it goes past Lightning Rod to hit the other two, it procs the berry on Milo, gets the paralysis, which didn't matter, because I have Tailwind, and the Max Lightning is able to come out onto the Milo and pick up the KO. And now, that one's more of just a prep end thing. No disrespect to Dark. He played that as well as he could, or he played that turn as well as he could, rather. But, yeah, reads come through, and now I have to play for differential, essentially, because it's a 3v1 with a +2, sorry, no, a +1 Rhyperior in kill range. So, I decide, since I literally don't have a single, I don't have Protect, I'm going to switch on to Urshifu, hope that there's no Dazzling Gleam, and that I can just get some fat damage off onto the Uxie. So that's exactly what I do. Protect goes through, and this should be a quick cleanup for Urshifu. Not Protect, sorry. Psychic goes through the Dark type, which is fine. And we get the clean 3-0. Dark is going to forfeit here, but I'm going to give the kill to Urshifu, mainly because, based off of speed tiers, we obviously know that Urshifu goes first, and we obviously know that Urshifu is going to kill the Uxie. So, very well played from Dark. it only really came down to one or two turns. Literally, like, one critical turn in each of these games completely, like, sealed it. Not really sealed it, but sealed the chances, really. So, phenomenal play from Dark. I can obviously see why he's 3-0. He has played incredibly well, and I really appreciate the variation on his comp. That definitely did throw me off, but we will see you guys in week 5 with my game versus Ryan. He is 1-1 currently. I have not watched his game with apparently Licky Licky, but anyway, I will see y'all then.